Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Design Dialogues hosted by Rethinking the Future in collaboration with Fublis. This is your host Bhavya, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Neha, the principal architect of Cathect Architects. Thank you for joining us, Neha.
Thank you, Bhavya, for inviting me over the platform.
Just to give a brief introduction about your studio, Cathect Architects, they design spaces that merge structure with emotion, ensuring every project reflects the aspirations of those who inhabited it. Based in New Delhi, they specialize in architectural consultancy, construction, adaptive reuse, renovations, and bespoke furniture design. From concept to completion, they're dedicated to making your dream space a reality. I would like you to inform that this interview will be published on the Fublis website. So don't forget to sign up and you'll get the access to watch the interview. So shall we proceed with the questions? Yeah. So the first question for the day is, how does your studio, Catholic Architects, balance emotional aspirations and functional needs in your design process?
Right. So at Cathect, we believe that design, besides solving a particular issue or being functional, caters to a lot of emotional needs of any person occupying that space, even if it's for a short while. So every project begins with a deep dive into, what are the aspirations of the client, not just physically, not just visibly, but also emotionally. How do they want the space? How do they want to feel in the space? What is it catering to in their daily routine, in their lifestyle, in the way they see themselves grow? Because we hear a lot about color therapy, about space therapy. So many things that tie in into architecture. So the idea is about bringing in those emotional aspirations, understanding their routines, their lifestyles, and then building it into practical solutions such that the space is a much more complete space for anybody using it. And the balance of form and function, it's very key. I mean, I've realized from one of our projects, which we did for a senior living facility, it was an apartment in Dehradun, and there the client came to us. He had recently had a personal loss and he needed that space to hold him, to make him feel safe and comfortable. And that's not necessarily a design solution, but the apartment catered to that emotional need for that person. So choosing neutral colors, warm tones, using real materials that would make the whole apartment feel like a cocoon, and create a safe environment for that person to feel okay in every aspect of an emotionally need, was something that really brought about our belief into design, and the way that that client ended up using the space and then healing from it was like a win for us, where we say that, emotional aspirations are really important as well. So that's it.
Nice. So
Yeah.
could you also elaborate on how your consultative approach and how does it shape the final outcome of your project?
Right. So our approach at Cathect is quite rooted in collaboration and an open dialogue. We sort of expect our clients to work with us in a workshop-like approach, especially in key decisions, such that they're able to, with a back and forth on design on certain aspects that we want them to bring in, the whole space at the end of the project feels more authentically theirs, rather than us as designers saying, okay, this is what you should be doing. The client saying, okay, I want this, I like this. And along with our professional aesthetics and understanding of that space with the experience, the collaboration brings about the end of the project to be a much better one.
So, how did you incorporate the school learning philosophy into the physical environment in the Kangaroo Kids in Noida?
This is an Australian chain. A lot of you must be aware of it as well. And the branch that we were catering to was one that really needed to showcase that philosophy in their physical space, and that's why the school leadership had approached us, basis our work, and this they we went about understanding what exactly, how are they making the kids become more curious, or how are they allowing for the kids to explore more, to understand more, to enjoy being in that through their curriculum. And we essentially took about those elements of fun, of using one space in multiple ways, climbing furniture, using fun colors, giving them sort of translating that philosophy into physical space and then seeing the kids use that also was the way that we actually went about integrating their curriculum into a physical space. And ultimately, when the school showcased that to their brand partners and stuff, they got a pretty good response. So we were really happy that that again ties back to, the emotional approach of understanding what the clients wanted, essentially the children, helped us make a much better space.
I think, first of all, congratulations on having such a good feedback about this project. So,
Mhm.
how did your design choices promote engagement and creativity among the children in this project?
Right. So using bold colors for fun, making furniture such that it's not, even as adults, we don't use furniture just for sitting on a chair. Sometimes we fold our legs on it, sometimes we climb up on it, sometimes there are three people using it in all different manners. So we start, besides the colors, the multiple ways in which any particular space or furniture piece that was placed in that space could be used was a key thought behind us designing that. And with that, along with recycling some of the materials like pipes and stuff, so that kids could see how imaginative one could be. You know, we've seen those ideas as designers, but when you execute it and you showcase it to children, there are completely different ways in which you end up seeing them use that space, and that really helps. That sort of validates the design that we put through.
So, how were and what were the sustainability or child safety measures that were inaugurated and integrated in this design?
So, especially in school designs, interiors or otherwise, that's a non-negotiable. I mean, it has to cater to it no matter what. So besides, the regular of low VOC materials that you're using for indoor air quality or the kind of energy efficiency systems that you need to install, the ideas about showing how even the smaller aspects of design can affect children's minds and how then it can help them grow and understand sustainability, not just in the larger systems, but even in the smallest items. So even when you're looking at slip-resistant flooring, you're looking at child-friendly lock mechanisms, you're using it spaces that can change, that are stimulating, and yet, they're safe. So we are obviously items that we're using in the design, but it's at all levels. Sustainability is not just the larger parts of the design, but also in the smaller spaces.
I guess this project reflects the architecture ideology that says less is more. I think that's about it. Yeah.
It does for children because the way that they end up using spaces, I mean, we would not imagine. And yet, it also helps you test out everything so well. How sturdy is it? How safe is it? How many ways you can use it?
So, how do you integrate adaptive reuse and renovation within your design philosophy?
We believe in reusing and adaptively, reusing whatever is there. It again sort of ties in with what we had done or answered in the earlier question as well, where it's not we are sort of used to understanding this in the larger context with buildings or spacing you being used in different manners. But the same thing even boils down to products for us. For example, when we are designing spaces, a lot of times clients come in and say, I've got this heirloom chalky in silver, or, I've got this really beautiful bed cover that I don't want to get rid of. And, but I don't have space or I don't know what to do with it. So even in that, I think these ideas are pretty well adapted. Like for us, we had for the chalky, we removed the legs, made lampshades out of it, things that you wouldn't see in the market. And, every time the client walks into that space, they're like, my God, yes, this is something I received from my family and now it's still there. And it looks much more modern than what it was earlier. I'm actually able to display it and use it. So that philosophy of adaptive reuse and renovation needs to be there at all levels, and we definitely try to integrate it in every aspect of design.
It's really cool. It's really amazing. How did you ensure that the design met the different and diverse preferences and sensibilities of the three generations within the same household in your project Summit's apartment?
So for this particular client, they were moving from their ancestral bungalow into a modern, 4,500 square feet apartment. It's a big change in every way for all people involved. So again, it went back to the basics for us where we understood their daily routines, we understood what their requirements were in terms of how they would use the space, what are the kind of requirements that they had, and simply went about integrating those same emotional needs and functionality into that space and, catering to that. And even now, like every time we go back to that client, which is another thing that we do, like we sort of keep in touch with all the clients and get their feedback, after 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, how's that space? You're facing any issues? And that feedback's been really important that they have loved using the space that they feel they have designed for themselves. And that's sort of the best feedback that we could get.
I really like how you take feedbacks from your client just to get yourself going for the next project. I really like that. I think it's very unique of your personality, and I think it's really nice and something very
It's
different. I haven't heard something so cool really in a while. So, what were the biggest challenges you have faced in creating a space that felt like a resort while also functioning as a family home?
so there's always this question, that the home should look like a home. It shouldn't look like a resort. It's not a hotel. And I feel it's about striking the right balance between it looking luxurious and feeling luxurious, but also being comfortable and functional and catering to that particular person's lifestyle. So it has to be a good combination of both, where resort-like spaces would typically emphasize luxury and leisure and high maintenance, but that's definitely not the case. I mean, in a home, you need things to be a lot more toned down and easy and comfortable. So using the right materials, using the right combination is something that we would definitely take care of for each client. And again, that's something like so each project sort of gives you an insight to that, right? So there was one project we recently completed in Houston, in Texas, Bhandaris. They needed the space to look opulent, increase the square footage, get a better ROI, yet, sticking to a budget and also catering to the expanding needs of their children who are growing up and things like that. So it was, again, the workshop like collaborative process with them, talking to them, understanding which materials make sense for their lifestyle, and putting that in really helped us achieve a good balance between the two.
That's amazing. So, with both design and construction expertise in house, how do you maintain harmony between a creative and a technical aspect of any project of yours?
I think it's about integrating proper systems more than anything else into the space. And also demarcating responsibilities very clearly. Because there is so much going on in each project and every project at different times that between Rishabh, my co-founder, and myself, we've made it a clear way that, there's a certain point up to which I would bring the design and then we both would work on it together and then he would take it on. So that there is an overlap and an understanding and a balance between creativity and technical aspects. And besides the design bit, you also execute it the way that it's imagined.
And thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for giving your precious time. This was the last question for the day. It was a pleasure to have you here, and don't forget to sign up on the Fublis website.